All right, guys, here we go. I'm going to try to be really quick. Let me just throw this out there. For today, I'd rather this be an informational session. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. But we can also do that in a personal, come see me in my office and we can talk about some of these questions. I want to try to get through. I know you guys have things to do. Big football game tonight. I want you to get there. Friday, you got things to do. Okay? So let's see if we can go through this pretty quickly. Personal project, the changes to 2021, 2022, your all's submission. Tell me I didn't hit the wrong button. The agenda, the three things we're going to talk about today, the changes to the personal project. We're also going to look at ManageBack really quickly so that you can see what for ManageBack's and what you should be doing. And then those forms which tie back to ManageBack, the two forms that I care about, I want to talk about them really quickly. Again, I just showed you that slide. Here's the changes to the 2021-2022 personal project. They have made several changes, but again, the ones I would highlight the most are 2, 4, and 5. 3 semi-important. It did not, you used to have to be linked to a global context. Now it may be linked to a global context if you feel that's appropriate. We'll look at that in a minute. Again, that's one of the things you guys should be hearing a lot, global context, not emphasized enough, not your fault, something we're going to start doing going forward. Okay, any questions on that before we go? Okay, I'm going to explain all this as we go on. Okay, here is the difference. The changes to the personal project. So in the past, we used to have 4 sections. The investigation, the plan, the taking action part, and then finally the reflection. The difference now is they've reduced it to 3 sections. The sections have also slightly changed. So now the 3 sections are planning. This is ultimately, as you can see here, students should be able to, this is what you are asked to do. To satisfy the plan, you must be able to satisfy the stated learning goal for the project and explain how a personal interest led you to that goal. You need to be able to state an intended product and develop appropriate success criteria for that product. And you need to present a clear, detailed plan for achieving the product and its associated success criteria. Okay, this is further broken down in the guide, and I'll show you that later. But I just want you to see that's what they're asking you to do for the plan. The second part of this is applying the skills. Students should be able to, again, this is where the ATL skills come in. Go over that in a second. How do the ATL skills, were they applied to help achieve their learning goal? And then explain how the ATL skill was applied to help achieve your product. So going back to that, the multifaceted goal, what are you planning on learning and what are you planning on creating? And the ATL skills need to be applied to that to show how you learn, how they helped you learn, and how they helped you produce. That's the biggest change to the new personal project. Lastly, this is where you guys are reflecting. Did it work? Did my strategies, did my criteria, did my plan, did this all come together? What hardships did I face? What did I not understand going in that now I've reflected on the whole process? Now I realize that maybe I should have tweaked this, I should have done this. Guys, remember something. It does not matter. Miss Savage, can you support this? It does not matter if you make your goal happen.
That's correct.
Okay?
You want to try.
You have to try to do something, and if you come up slightly short, that's okay. Like I said, last year we had students that took on some major projects. They didn't all come together completely. But that's what you were able to talk about in the reflection section. What happened? And the paper, the report is what's being graded, not your final product. As long as you can lay out the process, tell them the plan, tell them what you've learned, what is my end goal supposed to be. In the reflection, all I'm doing is talking about what I learned, what hardships occurred. Does that make sense? You're reflecting on this. Okay? And that's going to ultimately turn into your paper. Miss Savage?
But you can't wait until the last second and say, oh, I didn't leave enough time. You got to start and have progress.
And that is a bigger emphasis this year. Okay, and I'll show you that in a minute.
Also to say, if you pick something very easy, you're going to struggle with your journal anyway. Because what are you really going to talk about? I already knew how to stitch, whatever. Like, what are you going to talk about? If you pick something very challenging, you might have 10 entries just talking about like, I had to just wrap my head around what the heck this thing is, right? So like, the more challenging, the more you'll have to talk about it. You may not reach that end goal, but you're gonna have maybe gotten somewhere closer to the end result. If you pick something easy, you're gonna be spinning your wheels talking about, I already kind of know about knitting, but I picked something knitting and what are you gonna talk about? Pick something challenging, you'll have something to talk about.
And you know, and I agree 100%. The one word that I would have used to have used, and if I go back here, you'll notice that's the difference. The old assessment is it had to be highly challenging. But in the new, you just set an overall goal. What do I learn and what do I produce? Now, if I can already do that, then I don't have enough ammunition to write a good paper. But I don't need to do something that's so, like last year, the kids who tried to do the lobster tennis ball feeder. That was probably a little bit too challenging. You know what I mean? And it caused a little bit of an issue going at the end of it all for him. So it needs to be a challenge, but it used to be a highly challenging goal. Now it just needs to be a challenge. Okay, so now for the rest of this, I kind of gave you a breakdown as to what you need to do. So in regards to the plan, the applying skills, and the reflection, the setting the goal, that goes back to the plan. Okay, so this is just comes right out of the guide. I stole this right from the guide to tell you what they expect you to do. So setting your goal. Here's some of the things that they say you could be doing. A global context. A service as action. This is something you've done in community service. See, this goes back to deliberate community service hours. Not just picking up every beach cleanup that you can, but instead, hey, my goal is to be a vet. I'm going to go work at the local shelter. And you can take that action or that service and expand upon it. So if you've done something really awesome with community service, use that as your, okay, I'm gonna take that one step further. Does that make sense? Or something that you want to figure out, you want to learn about, you want to inquire about it. Students may set a goal based on an interest or a hobby that they pursue. Outside of school, students should set an overall goal that can be achieved within 25 hours. Okay? Notice that I highlighted this. There should be two interrelated parts, a product and a learning goal. The product is what the students will create, and the learning goal is what they want to learn. And both of those things can be talked about in the planning. Question? I know I'm going fast, but this is an overview. Yes, ma'am.
If my goal is something that's challenging, I know I can do it, but it can take 25 hours, that's fine.
I just don't want it to be something that's going to take you so long you're never going to achieve. It has to be a goal that's achievable, but highly challenging. Does that make sense? If you put 30 hours, nobody's going to complain. But if it takes you 6 years and we can't get to a final product, then it doesn't do you any good. Does that make sense? Yes. Application of ATL skills. So applying the ATL skills throughout the personal project, students should collect evidence of how they have applied the ATL skills, and you can do it in any of these ways. You want to do a visual thinking diagram, you want to do a bulleted list, charts, paragraph, notes, timeline, annotated illustration, annotated research, pictures, photographs, sketches, screenshots of a blog or website. You can use any of those things to show that you're using your ATL skills. Okay? At the end of the personal project, students will select pieces of evidence to demonstrate. This is huge. Select pieces of evidence to demonstrate the ATL skills that have had the most impact on their project. So what are ATL skills? That's the question all of you are thinking right now. Well, there they are. The blue is the skill. These are the clusters. So we should be, in our classrooms, we should be emphasizing those skills. Communication. Is communication something that's necessary or important in your personal project? If it is, it's maybe one of the skills I want to either utilize or develop, or I'm talking about communication. Okay? Is it thinking? And thinking includes creative, critical, and transfer skills, reflection. Is it self-management? This is a huge one. Organizational skills. Can you put a plan together? Can you put a plan that lasts you a year, start to finish? Can you handle that plan? That's organizational skills. Can you manage your mental and your emotions? That's affective skills. And then you got your research. I don't know how your project's not tied to this in some way. So those are the skills and those are the clusters. How are you tying your project around those skills? I was thinking about it all day as I was making my PowerPoint. I'm thinking, I was doing a project, and I don't know what project I was be doing, but I was like, which ones would I be using? Maybe communication if I'm talking, but if I'm trying to organize, I know somebody's trying to do a club. How do you do a club without communicating?
For a project, all of these, or just like,
Use two.
What has had the biggest impact on your project? If it was communication, then that's what I'm talking about. If it's organizational skills, that's what I'm talking about. And I don't know, there is no definition of how many. But I certainly wouldn't pick one, and I probably wouldn't pick all. Any questions? Yes, ma'am. You're going to provide evidences in your actual report as well, journal and report. If you don't do it in the journal, you're missing the plan. So it needs to be in both. Yeah, Coop.
Our project is required, but there's like something that prevents us from doing it. We like have to log every time we do it, or like every day.
It should not, I'll show you something in the guide in a minute. It should not be every day unless it's necessary for your project. Again, I'll show you guys the guide. You guys are going to need to read through this guide as well. Like, I can't do it all for you, That's not coming at you. I'm just being honest. You're going to have to read a little bit. Okay, reflection. At the end, we got to reflect. Okay, so evaluating the product. When students have completed their product, they use the success criteria that were developed early in the plan. So in your plan, you had a success criteria. What do I have to do to be successful in my project? This evaluation forms the basis for explaining the impact of the project and can also help students to select the evidence of the ATL skills to include in their report. One of the biggest things is you might want to do the reflection before you write the paper, because the reflection might help you understand what ATL skills were most evident and most impactful in the process, the product. Notice, when reflecting on the personal project, it is important to remember that the process can have a positive impact even if the product is not successful. You don't have to make it go from A to B to have learned, correct? The report is pretty much the same. It will only be in the 3 sections now. The report is what your grade is really based off of. Okay? It's not the product. The product is just pictures or evidence that I've completed something. The process journal and the paper, the report, those are the biggest things that you're being graded on. Okay? So the report, again, I pulled this right out. You can read this in the guide. That's longer than I need to sit here and read to you. But the report, okay? Still going to be a 1,500 word plus paper broken into those 3 sections. There's your assessment criteria. Again, each of the criteria are still worth 8 points. They used to have 4. There's only 3 now, 24 points. Used to be 32. So your paper is going to get a score out of 24 points. And after that is, they're going to then use that to give you a grade out of 7. The max points for the personal project is 7 points. A passing score is a 3 of the 7. And those points are determined by what you score out of these 24. Okay, questions? Let me show you the guide. Mr. Bell, how are you, sir? Good. So this is the guide. I have put this on ManageBack, guys. It starts on what they call page 29 of the PDF. It's really on page 23 of the document. But this is exactly what I pulled my information from. So there's the process. Okay, these tables are great. Read the tables. What you should do and what you should not do. Okay? So again, I'm not going to read these to you right now. But evidence of the process is, evidence of the process is not. Okay? You want to pay attention to those tables. This takes you all the way through all the requirements. There's setting a goal. There's the ATL skills talked about. There is the evaluating the product, or basically the reflection piece. Again, kind of talks to you about, possible impacts of the product and things like that, learning of the goal. Here's the report part. Now this is super important, guys. When you're writing the paper, there's your breakdown. I have my 3 different sections: plan, applying skills, and reflection. Here's what, and they give you a breakdown right here of what you should be doing in that written section. Read the guide. It will help you tremendously. I'll go over that later. This is important. You want to read over this, depending on the length of your paper. If you have any audio recordings, if your paper 15 pages, you can't have a recording. That's all you need to see. If your paper is only 5 pages, you can have 10 minutes of recording. The overall length has to be considered. And so they use that as a guide, just in case you're going to do a recording or something different than just the report. Okay, this is what I really wanted you guys to see. I couldn't pull all of this into my PDF. I'm sorry, my PowerPoint. But this is what you're being graded by. Okay, so each of the different criterion, plan, ATL skills, and then the reflection piece has a rubric like this. Guys, while you are doing this project, your supervisor and you should be paying attention to each of the 7 and 8 range. Okay, so in terms of the plan, the student right here, these 3. Takes a learning goal and explains, means why the connection between personal interest and that goal. States the intended product and presents multiple appropriate detailed success criteria for the product. And presents a detailed plan for achieving the product and all of its associated success. Like all rubrics work, if you're not meeting these criteria, then you're dropping back 1. Whatever, to the 5-6 range. Now they tell our teachers to always use best fit. So if you got 2 out of the 3, they may still put you in that 7 to 8. But while we're working on this, we're making sure that we're doing these things while we're doing the plan, not necessarily in the paper itself, but throughout the whole thing. Okay? And it does the same thing for the next 2. Please read this document, guys. It is tremendously beneficial. There's the applying skills. And again, I always jump to the 7-8. That's what you got to do to hit the 7 and 8 mark. And notice the big differences. Explain versus describe. This is just a general description of something. This is a why, the reason or the cause. Yes, ma'am. They're not going to determine that. That's for you to determine, and your supervisor to help you determine it. Absolutely. Okay, so the project itself. Are you guys good with that? Does anybody have any questions about what has to get done for the project itself? Everybody's okay. You ready to get started? Muy bien. Let's look at Manage Back really quick then. Okay, I've already jumped to your 10th grade page. Yours is different than mine because I see the whole thing. This is the 10th grade page. I want you to pay attention to a couple different tabs up above. That tab right there is huge in regards to the personal project. Okay, by clicking that tab, I'll show you something very interesting. This shows me all the kids in the 10th grade, and it shows me supervisor, if already determined. You want to see something that's not so cool? Look at all those kids. Look at all those kids. Look at it. Look at them all. Takes me 3 scrolls to get to the end. That's all the kids that do not have a supervisor right now. Now, maybe you don't have a supervisor, or maybe you do, but didn't know how to put it in. Okay? So that, if that's the case, let me show you how to fix that. This is what everybody needs to do. Melinda, are you in here? Okay, Melinda, I'm picking on you real quick. Not that there's anything there. Okay, so I'm going to click on Melinda. This takes me into her page. Guys, that blue button up here, look, I'm circling it. This is what you need to do immediately. You go in, and there is the proposal. Now, she has already filled this in, and she's included on it the global concepts that she's going to be talking about or hitting on. Orientation in time and space, personal and cultural expression. She's going to be learning it and recreating Chinese calligraphy with its context and history in mind. Okay, pretty awesome. Now, right down here, guess what's so cool? Watch this. She's got a supervisor name. All you got to do, guys, is go down to the bottom of this proposal and pick your teacher. They're all here. If they're not there, let me know. But they're there. Just pick them, hit save changes. And now it automatically will update this whole worksheet. And it will put you in, when it comes back here, it will automatically put you in the right teachers, under the right teacher, supervisor. So, yes, Mr. Bell.
As a person, how many students should we be taking on as supervisory role?
You know, Mr. Bell, it's a great question. I'm going to leave that up to each teacher because some teachers feel like they would like to take on more than others. You know, I would say, in my opinion, if I have one right now, I would feel comfortable. Now, again, how many EEs? That's another thing to think about. You know, if you have any EEs, I have 6 EEs, and I have right now 1 personal project. I would feel comfortable with 3 or 4 personal projects. I do not think, from the supervisor end, I do not think they take that long to grade. I think it's more important, it's more of a process in the actual supervision of the project with the student than it is the grading of it. I would not take on more than 3 or 4. I don't know that you can give the student what they're looking for as far as the supervision. If you've got 3, 4, 10. It's too much.
I'm not Mr. Collins, I can't.
You can do whatever you want.
I was just gonna tell the students, I know y'all can go in and pick your supervisor. You need to have that conversation with a teacher before you go selecting them.
Yeah,
Because I've
thank
had
you.
students in the past who went in and just picked teachers without talking to them. Don't do that, because I can go in and unselect you.
Yeah. No, please don't go do that. You need to have this is part of the skills. What is one of those skills? It's called communication, right? Communication is going to the teacher and asking, would you be my supervisor? That's what you need to do. Don't put a teacher in there until you've asked. That's not fair. Talk to the teacher, ask them to supervise you, then go into your update, your proposal. You can do the proposal without putting the teacher, and you can go back, edit it, and just put the teacher in later. Yes? Questions? Everybody's cool so far?
So comment,
Yep.
question,
Mhm.
should students be leaning toward experienced teachers that have a knowledge base on IB rather than teachers that may be newer to us? That would be a concern, would it not?
I definitely think that if I had a more experienced teacher, especially in the realm of IB, I would probably try to use them. At the same time, if you have a project that is oriented in a certain direction, like maybe it's fashion, Donna Langell, Miss Langell is a perfect person to ask. Is that yes? You want to learn tennis, Mr. Bell might be a great person to talk to, right? Because he's a tennis coach. So I would be thoughtful of what my interest is, and the teachers that are more maybe up to date with their skill or their knowledge in that area. Does that make sense? But if you're just trying to do a science project and nobody's doing something, or nobody teaches exactly what you're trying to do, maybe I just go and find a science teacher who I think might be able to help. And it doesn't have to really necessarily be somebody, a teacher. I would rather be a teacher because it's easier for us to monitor, but it really could be somebody outside of the school. If that's going to be the case, you need to talk to me about that first. Okay. But I think that's a good question about the 3 to 4. That's about all I would take on. Okay. Also, one of the things I wanted to show you guys is this. So I'm highlighting this link right here. Can you see this? If you click this, it brings you to this page. It is fully designed on ManageBack to help you with your personal project. So over to the side, project overview, it tells you all the different areas of the project. So introducing the personal project, what are the objectives? If you click it, it gives you all the stuff that you would need to know. This will be a helpful guide for you to make sure that you're on the right track, you're doing the right things. This is just on ManageBack. It's something else that you can access for a quick help me. I would definitely be utilizing it if I needed that help, okay? And really the last thing I got for you guys is forms. So I need you to see a couple things. And under files, do you see that I'm highlighting the files tab? Click it. I have added a personal project folder. Click it. And inside here are inside here is your guide. Here's the newest guide. So if you want to read through, you need to read through. If you want to look at and read through that guide, there it is. This is the academic honesty form that you should be taking to every one of your meetings. Okay? What you need to do, if you want to keep it electronically, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But if you don't, you need to print this out and bring this with you to every meeting. Okay? And when your teacher, I'm going to show it to you really quickly. When your supervisor gets this form, you will notice that there are different places for the 3 meetings to take place in the discussion that was had in that meeting. So I'm taking that to Mr. Bell. I don't think he's back there anymore, but Mr. Bell's my supervisor. I put Mr. Bell, or I put the date here. Mr. Bell puts comments, what we talked about that day. We looked at the process journal. We looked at the goal. We talked about the ATL skills. I'm just making general comments, but he puts in here what exactly we did in that meeting. You sign, he signs. I sign, he signs. Meeting 1's done. Meeting 2, same thing. Date it, comments, sign. Yes, ma'am. I mean, you can put it in there. I don't have a problem with that, but he's got to sign it, or he or she has to sign it. And then there's the 3rd meeting. When it's all said and done, this whole thing needs to be filled out. This is for your supervisor to make all the comments in regards to the overall project. Then student is declaring, this is my work, authentic work, signed, dated, supervisor signed date. This has to be available to upload when your final project is uploaded. If this is not there, your project will not be scored because ID says that you didn't, it's not academic integrity. There's no honesty. We can't guarantee honesty. That needs to be taken with you. Print it. Come to me. I'll print it. But this has to be taken with you for all 3 meetings. And that does not limit you to 3, but you have to have at least 3. Questions? Yes, sir. AJ. Let's do it on Monday. If you can't see that form, okay, let me show you something. This is important that you guys see this. This is not what I'm talking about. This right here is the academic policy for our program that I'm asking all of you to go in and sign with your parents, okay? That is very different in the form. This policy is right here, linked for you. You need to read this with your parents, sign it, and upload it. As you will notice, that nobody, we had a couple. Okay, 3 of 73. Go ahead.
So you said we have to log the meetings to have more than once, log the other meetings have.
And not on that form. I might in my plan, in my process journal. Look, AJ, one more time. Look up here. Files. Personal project folder. And right there should be the personal project academic honesty form. Should be different than what the calendar thing is. Are you good? If it's not, if it's for some reason you guys can't see that, then I need to know and I'll make sure it's available to you ASAP. This, guys, is the cover sheet real quick. Almost done. Cover sheet. This is for just, this was on the front cover. This is the basically like in front of your title page. You can fill in some of this later, student name and that kind of stuff. You can go ahead and do now. But title, goal, length, blah, 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 all of that needs to be filled out. And then this will be on the front page of your report. Okay, so those two forms are super important to the overall project itself. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Do not put in here, that student number is not your whatever, 220. This is a ID number that you guys probably don't know yet. I will have them for you. Don't worry about it now. But before the project is done, I'll give it to you guys so you guys can fill that in properly. Yes, ma'am? Yes. We'll tweak it or we'll get you a new one. No big deal. Let me show you one more thing. Just I was thinking about it. I'm going back to personal project. I'm going back to Melinda's because I know she has something there. Remember that this is the other big thing that we need to be taking care of, the journal. And if you read, when you read through that guide, it's going to tell you that your journal entries should not be done at the end, and then you're going to go backdate a bunch of journal entries. These should be done while you're doing the project. And I said to you, basically on a weekly process, you should be putting 1 or 2 entries in a week. I would definitely try to make sure I'm putting in at least one a week. Okay. Now, click the journal. It brings me to a little sub page, and you will notice that she has made entries already. Okay. I don't need you to sit here and read them all, her stuff, but notice, what was her goal? Oh, very interesting. So she has made entries. You will notice that already up to this point, she has, I don't know what, 7, 8 entries, maybe 6, 7, 8 entries. That's what you guys should be doing. That they don't always have to be super long. It may just be a small comment as to what I found and what research I did. Do it on ManageBack. You can do it as like a little personal journal. It's so much easier to go over here. And when it's all said and done, I just click this and click the export. And I have her entire personal process journal ready for me. So do it in that way. Right here on ManageBack. Personal project, journal. Where do I find the proposal? Under worksheet. Worksheet, edit proposal. I put my proposal in. Doing the journal, click journal. Boom. Add my journal entries here. If you want to do a file, some kind of music file or something like that, a video, you can do that as well. Questions? 302. Yes, sir. I would. Because again, I would reflect on the whole process myself first. Because I think that's going to help you put the necessary ATL skills in there and just making sure that the whole thing kind of comes full circle and that your paper is going to read well. I would wait to the end. That's up to you guys. You guys have to, take this and master it on your own. So if you feel like you want to go ahead and do the plan and you want to write the plan out, that's fine. I would probably wait till the end and write the paper at the very end. But don't wait to the last minute. Okay? I would definitely, in my mind, in my calendar, I would have early January would be maybe winter vacation. I'm starting to write my paper. Because when we get back, it's pretty much going to be due. And then February is due. And then we're going to have our showcase in early March. So I might wait, January is, I have to start writing my paper.
Every journal entry, or do you want like a step-by-step thing?
I would highly advise that you read the guide and under the plan, pay attention to what they're saying that you should and should not do. Because that will tell you exactly what you should and should not do. It does not need a daily step-by-step at all. It does need, per week, I need to kind of put in there what I'm doing to remember. You're laying out a plan. How do I get from A to B? That plan has to make sense to the reader. So however you go about that plan you know, and what you're doing, what your project is may necessitate different, you know, how you go about that plan, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Everybody's project is gonna be different. Okay, so, yeah, yes, go.
Is there a certain way we got the format of our report?
It actually talks about there, in there as well, there's a whole bunch of different ways you can format the report. It doesn't have to even be a written report, it can be a spoken. So I would write it, I think it's easier. You guys are more, probably a little bit more versed at writing a paper than you are speaking a paper out. But there's different ways, and again, in the guide will detail that. Okay, so bottom line is this, here's where we are. We are in September, almost mid-September. And as I look through that list of the 73 kids in the program right now, the majority of you, like way more than the majority, do not have a supervisor. Now, maybe you do and you haven't done it in your proposal. I need that proposal, or I need a supervisor named like immediately. You've got to start going to your meetings, and you've got to start the process journal. Okay? Your supervisors also have access to this. I'm having them read this because in the beginning of it, it talks about what the role of the supervisor is and what they should be doing for you. So they should be helping you along the way, but they are not doing your project for you. Okay? Questions? You guys got to get going. And let me just say one last time. Don't make this this is not a headache. This is cool. This is fun. This is learning. This is something I'm interested in. I'm going to take an interest and I'm going to take it to the next level. That's all we're asking you to do. I'm not asking you to reinvent anything. I'm not asking you to learn something that's so difficult for you to learn. Find an interest. Do you like video games? I love Pokemon. I'm gonna learn how to do something with Pokemon. I'm gonna develop a new character. Like, you don't have to do something that's so out of the league. Just find something interesting, find something that you love, take it to the next level, and have fun with it. 1,500 word paper, that's not a lot of writing. And your supervisor's gonna help you along the way. Just gotta get going, guys. We're falling behind. Looking at that list and having so many people without a supervisor, I have to be concerned. I'll help you in any way I can. Come see me. Go get a supervisor. Make sure you're reading the guide. Okay? Everybody's good? Have a great weekend. Love it. Yeah.
Know if Miss Henry is on campus right now?
I just saw her a few minutes ago while checking her classroom.
Sure.
Okay, sorry.
So you know how there's like the planning, the three big ones, the planning.
Yep.
So where do we write like that at? Is that like in the report, or is that like it's
This is in the report. Yes, it is going to be in the
like
report.
At the end of the thing? Like at the
So
end?
when you start your report and your first subsection of the report is planning,
Yeah. So and you talk
what
about
I'm writing about is how I met these.
and that's like the one that we should be starting in December. That's when we start writing that. Okay, because I started
Yes.
my journal. I was like, wait, because I started writing my journal. I just submitted my supervisor already. I talked to her, to Ms. Bray, and because I was really confused because I wrote down like what I was gonna do in my journal,
Right.
like, and ideas, but I thought that's where you wrote it at. So now I know. Okay, never mind.
No, you're good. You're fine. If I can help you, just let me know. But the report is what ultimately they're grading. So if it's not in the report, the teacher doesn't know.
So it's the academic
Yeah, I know. It's more comfortable. I totally understand.
Yep. And the academic honesty form that guides you throughout. Was that too fast and too confusing?
No,
It was the
they
best
have
I
to look
heard
at it.
in Decades.
Thank you. Mr.
Hello there. Come in.
Hey, sir, we still have paint out here for the teachers in there, if you guys wanna put your hands on, I know you would like to do that.
I'm coming.
I'm on my way,
I'm
sir.
coming. I'm coming.
Okay.
We're coming. We're
I have
coming.
my priorities.
You thought that was good?
No, you were
Yeah, it
good.
was good.
Yeah, it was good.
It was very
I
clear.
thought it was, I was worried that it was over too quick and over the top,
It
and they
was
would just
very good.
confuse. Okay, well, good.
I gave him a direction.
They need to get started.
Let's-
Absolutely. Kelly, thank you so much for all your help, like always. Okay. I mean, I can't hold their hand.
And if you do, you're not the one on the table.
No, I'm not.